What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. I am the Hobbyist, and today we are going to be doing a steering modification to my Losi Tenacity rally car build. A couple simple things. We are going to be upgrading the servo. So the servo that is currently in here is the Power HD LW20. It is a 20 kg servo with a speed of about 0.16 to 60 degrees. So it's a pretty good servo, but it's a bit too slow for this truck. Rally car. It goes 60 miles an hour down the road, and honestly it doesn't need that much torque either because it's really small tires. So I am replacing it with this servo right here. This is a JX DC-6015. It's a digital servo with a standard cord motor. That's what the DC stands for. And it is a higher speed but lower torque servo than the Power HD LW20. So at 4.8 volts, this servo's got a transit speed of 0.12 seconds, and at 6 volts, it has a transit speed of 0.1 seconds. So it's significantly faster than the Power HD. Torque, it's a little bit lower. At 4.8 volts, it's got 10.7 kilograms per centimeter, and at 6.6 volts, it's got 14.32 kilograms per centimeter. So a little bit less, but I think that's going to be just fine for this rally build. In addition to upgrading the servo, I'm also going to be putting on a different steering arm, because the steering arm that's on there now has a big flaw. Since it has metal ends, there's a lot of play in it, and as a result, there is a lot of play in the steering. So I hope to eliminate that problem with this new steering arm setup. So without further ado, let's get into disassembling and reassembling this truck. So to start out, I am going to simply just remove the old servo arm and horn, and then I'm going to remove the servo itself. So I'm going to do that all off camera because it's basically just disassembly, and I'll put you back on when I've gotten to that point. Alright, so I've removed the old Power HD servo as well as the old steering assembly. This was so slow I actually put a big crawler servo horn on there to see if I can get a little bit more speed because it was further out. But now it's time to install the new servo, but before I do that, I'm actually going to do a quick modification that involves, I guess, convenience really. When the servo is sitting in here, the servo horn goes over the receiver box and makes the receiver box very hard to open. However, I can move this arm to the inside, and so I'm going to actually do that in hopes that I have more room there. So I'm going to do that real quick. I just have to take this plate off and flip it real quick, and then I'll put you guys back on when I've done that. Alright guys, so I have flipped the steering column, and then I've also put in the arm because you can't really get it to it with the plate on. So I've got that on, so now it's time for reinstalling the servo. So here's the old one, here's the new one. This one looks a little bit smaller, like maybe just a touch, but if anything that'll make it easier to fit inside. So I'm going to try and get that installed, and then I'll put you guys back on when I've done that. Alrighty, so the servo is now all installed. I've got all the wiring cleaned up. So now I have taken my radio and I have zeroed out all of my steering trims. That's a big mistake I see with a lot of people putting in new servos, is they leave their trim settings to where they were with the old servo. You don't want to do that. You want to have it perfectly zeroed so you have the least amount of, well, difficulty getting everything centered. So now what I want to do is plug in the servo, or plug in the car itself, and I'm going to unplug this fan because it's a bit noisy. So I'm going to turn this on. We've got power. We have steering. So now I'm going to try and get the servo horn on to a point where it is just about centered, which is looking like about there. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to tighten that down, then I'm going to set up travel. So when setting up travel, it is very important to make sure you get it right. So what you're going to basically do, if you have a computer radio anyway, is you go into your travel setting, and you're going to want to edit the travel so that the steering goes maximum on both sides. So I'm going to start with right. Okay, I've got way more steering travel, I think. Yeah, so I can keep going until looks like right about there. Yeah, now if I go to the other side, still got way more, way more. Okay, looks like I've got about there. All right, my travel settings are complete. Now, there's nothing I can really do about the trim until I take it back out and drive it, because it's really hard to set the trim inside the house. And right now I can't take it outside because there's currently 2 feet of snow on the ground outside. So I will eventually get to setting the trim on this, but other than that, that is it for installing this new servo. Now, just by looking at how fast this new servo is, again, it's not crazy fast, but it's much faster than the Power HD one was. See, that's what I was looking for. The Power HD one, you can't do that. So how you can tell if you've got a decently fast servo is if your steering reads everything. So if I steer that and then I let go, the steering wheel is going to bounce back. But watch the wheels of the Tenacity. Oh, well, if it bounces, there we go. You can see that when the steering wheel bounces back, the steering also does that little jiggle. And so that just shows that the servo can read that, and it is quite quick. So that's a good sign, and I'm definitely going to be happy with this new steering servo. But with that, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment in the section below for what videos you'd like to see next. I will be putting a link to where you can get the DC-6015 in the description down below. But that is all for today, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.